Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. Let's go. Feng Zunja beckoned with his hand. His body moved and he leaped onto the enormous eagle. Mu Qingluan followed closely behind. After beckoning Lin Yang, who was a short distance away, to follow, he leaped onto the large eagle. Feng Zunja placed both of his hands behind him after seeing that the few of them had leaped onto the large eagle. He stood on the head of the eagle while it flapped its wings. After which, it brought about a strong wind as it cut through the air with a swoosh sound, flying away from the wind-lightning mountain range. Within a couple of flashes, it completely disappeared from the focus of a countless number of gazes. Jian Zunja and Huangquan Zunja bid Lei Zunja goodbye after watching the enormous eagle disappear. Finally, they grabbed their disciples and swiftly left the lightning mountain. After Jian Zunja left, only the people from the Wind Lightning Pavilion were left behind. Only at this moment did Lei Zunja's expression completely become gloomy. His eyes turned to Feng Qing'er as he asked, "Did you really sense the ancient phoenix essence blood earlier?" "I'm definitely right. However, I am also unaware of why I am unable to find it." Feng Qing'er nodded and spoke with absolute certainty. Lei Zunja slightly nodded. He immediately spoke in a sinister manner, "You should return and report this matter to the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. At that time, the experts in your clan will definitely intervene and capture Xiao Yan. If the people from the Falling Star Pavilion stop them, it should not be difficult for the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe to finish them off given its strength." Feng Qing'er hesitated for a moment when she heard this. Finally, she clenched her silver teeth and nodded, "Since you refuse to cripple your 3000 lightning movement yourself, I shall cause you to be unable to use any other Do skills in the future." A cold expression surfaced on Lei Zunja's face. His soft mumbling was filled with a killing intent that caused those few people around to tremble. Fierce winds suddenly rose in the serene blue sky. An enormous eagle carried a lightning storm as it flew. On the back of the eagle sat a couple of figures. Xiao Yan was among them. At this moment, Xiao Yan was seated cross-legged on the back of the eagle. His gaze looked in the direction of the lightning mountain and found that it had disappeared. His tensed heart finally relaxed. Immediately, he clenched his teeth and a jade-green flame was fiercely burning on his hand. "What is it?" Feng Zunja's figure instantly appeared beside Xiao Yan as he asked in surprise. Xiao Yan did not reply. His eyes were staring intently at the burning flame in his hand. Droplets of green-red blood were mixed in the rising flame. This blood, that contained a shocking energy ripple, was slowly being forced out. Feng Zunja, Mu Qingluan, and Lin Yang revealed a shocked expression when they saw this. Xiao Yan had hidden this thing in the heavenly flame earlier. No wonder it was not detected. Mu Qingluan and Lin Yang nodded when they heard these words. They clearly understood just what kind of trouble it would bring Xiao Yan if this matter were to spread. The ancient phoenix essence blood has already been forced out by Xiao Yan. Why is it that his expression? Lin Yang's eyes swept over Xiao Yan's face as he suddenly asked with some hesitation. Feng Zunja and Mu Qingluan also threw their eyes toward Xiao Yan when they heard this. They did indeed see that his face was blood-red in color. His body's temperature was also frighteningly hot. There was a bitter expression between his brows. It was as though he was resisting something. There is more than just these 3 drops of ancient phoenix essence blood. The remainder should still be in his body. However, it seems that he cannot force them out. Feng Zunja's sharp eyes swiftly sensed the problem, and he explained it in a deep voice. "What should we do?" Lin Yang became anxiously as he hurriedly asked, "The interior of the ancient phoenix essence blood contains the strength of the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe's bloodline. It is impossible for an ordinary person to absorb it. After all, the constitution of a human is far inferior to that of a Heaven Demon Phoenix. If one forcefully absorbs it, it is likely that one might end up bursting apart. The only thing that we can do now is to help force out the remaining ancient phoenix essence blood within his body." Mu Qingluan spoke with a bitter smile. "There is no way to force it out. Earlier, Xiao Yan hid the ancient phoenix essence blood inside the heavenly flame to avoid Feng Qing'er's search. However, the heavenly flame's temperature is extremely high. It has caused some of the ancient phoenix essence blood's energy to spread. Now, it has basically spread all over his body. It is already impossible to completely force it out. Feng Zunja shook his head as he revealed another problem. Mu Qingluan spread her hands when she heard this. She was helpless if this was the case. Let's take a look at the situation first, Feng Zunja voiced his thoughts. If he were to randomly intervene in the matter now, it was likely that he would only add to the problem. Hence, it was best to first see if Xiao Yan could rely on his own strength to force this ancient phoenix essence blood out of his body. While the three of them were conversing, Xiao Yan's skin was becoming boiling hot. Its color had also turned blood red. At a glance, he appeared just like a frightening blood person. Of course, Xiao Yan's outer appearance was not the only one affected. At this moment, the interior of Xiao Yan's body was in complete chaos. Green-red energy was just like wild, galloping horses that crazily rocketed through the interior of his body. The crazy violence that was contained within it caused the interior of Xiao Yan's body to repeatedly emit waves after waves of intense throbbing pain. Damn it, Xiao Yan's mind tried its best to suppress the uprising within his body as he quietly cursed. Originally, he had refined 5 droplets of green-red blood from the magical beast-dried corpse. After using 1 droplet when refining a medicinal pill in the inner academy, he only had 4 droplets remaining. He had forced out 3 droplets earlier. In other words, there was still 1 droplet of green-red blood remaining in his body. The main culprit of turning his body into such chaos was this drop of damn green-red blood. The green-red blood had completely split apart when it was in the heavenly flame earlier. After which, it transformed into numerous violent energies that spread apart and randomly charged about within Xiao Yan's body. I don't believe that I am unable to subdue you after having managed to refine you. Xiao Yan viciously grit his teeth as he studied the chaotic situation within his body. A thought passed through his mind and spiritual strength surged from between his brows. After which, it wildly invaded his body and forcefully chased the scattered energy in a certain direction. Simply waiting for the wild energy to scatter more would only cause his internal injuries to become more and more serious. Hence, he needed to gather the scattered energy together and completely finish them off in a clean sweep. This ancient phoenix essence blood is indeed a great spiritual medicine for raising the strength of one's body. However, it is likely that the effect would have been even better if it had been used to refine a medicinal pill. Xiao Yan let out a quiet sigh within his heart as he sensed the change in his body. Immediately, he felt somewhat regretful. Of course, this kind of regret naturally disappeared immediately after it appeared. The current Xiao Yan also understood that it was indeed not easy to absorb such ancient phoenix essence blood. If he didn't possess the glazed lotus heart flame, it was likely that the interior of his body would have turned into a mess because of the ancient phoenix essence blood. Due to the repeated refinement of the glazed lotus heart flame, green-red fog repeatedly seeped out of the top of the fire cauldron. This momentum showed signs of it gradually becoming denser. When this green-red fog repeatedly penetrated into Xiao Yan's body, the feeling of his physical body becoming stronger also became more and more obvious. Xiao Yan had an illusion that if he had sufficient ancient phoenix essence blood, his body would likely become as strong as that of a heaven demon phoenix. Of course, the precondition to this was that he was able to endure the continuous strengthening. The ancient phoenix essence blood was really a little too violent for a human. If he was careless, his body might explode because of his strength being raised too much. Body explosion? Xiao Yan suddenly trembled when he thought of this. He instantly recovered from the joy of having his physical body being strengthened. This kind of green-red fog did indeed possess an exceptionally great effect when it came to strengthening one's body. However, if one were to absorb too much of it, it would likely become a disaster. Xiao Yan's mind entered the fire cauldron. At this moment, there were still 2/3 left of the green-red energy cluster. Just 1/3 made Xiao Yan feel like his body wouldn't be able to endure. If the remainder was completely absorbed by his body, it was likely that his body would really explode. Xiao Yan's heart felt a chill when he thought of this. However, if he did not completely refine this ancient phoenix essence blood in this situation, it would randomly dart around his body. The harm it would cause would also be quite great, yet if he continued the refinement, his body would be unable to endure such wild, violent energy at his current strength. At this moment, Xiao Yan had undoubtedly entered a dilemma. While Xiao Yan was hesitating, the refinement within the fire cauldron did not come to a stop. Wave after wave of green-red fog curled and rose up, covering every inch of Xiao Yan's body in that fog. Xiao Yan mournfully discovered that his body was gradually beginning to be unable to absorb any more while the green-red fog permeated it. However, the green-red fog could not be bothered with all this. It still continuously invaded Xiao Yan's body. Xiao Yan's body gradually began to show signs of a swelling pain following the repeated entry of the green-red fog. Xiao Yan softly sighed as he sensed the vague pain that appeared in his swollen muscles. Damn it, I have overdone it this time around. Feng Zunja and Mu Qingluan quickly turned their eyes to Xiao Yan when they heard his voice. They could see that Xiao Yan's body was vaguely showing signs of swelling. It is really the case of what I said coming true. Mu Qingluan bitterly laughed when she saw this scene. She sighed, Xiao Yan's body is unable to absorb so much ancient phoenix essence blood. This is the forewarning of the explosion of one's body. Feng Zunja's expression changed slightly. He stepped forward and appeared beside Xiao Yan's body. His hand was extended, but it was hurriedly stopped by Mu Qingluan by the side. Currently, the interior of Xiao Yan's body is in a full state. If any other energy is inserted, it is likely that his body will immediately burst apart. Feng Zunja intently frowned. He said in a deep voice, if this continues, he will sooner or later end up dying from his body bursting apart because of that ancient phoenix essence blood. Mu Qingluan bitterly laughed as she said, no one knows if he has any other tactics. If we were to randomly intervene, it is likely that we will make matters worse. Feng Zunja hesitated for a moment upon hearing this. All he could do, however, was to withdraw his hand. He looked at Xiao Yan's swelling body, clenched his teeth, and said, if he still doesn't have any solution after some time, I can only intervene. Only the people from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribes possess the ability to completely absorb the bloodline strength within the ancient Phoenix essence blood. If they absorb it, they will be able to cause every part of their body or their bloodline to become even purer. However, if a human were to absorb it, the process will be filled with danger. I don't know if I should say that this fellow is too bold or ignorant. Mu Qingluan nodded. Her eyes looked at Xiao Yan, who was continuing to swell, as she muttered to herself. The fierce wind eagle flapped its enormous wings, circling in the sky. The surrounding wild gale separated a great distance away, causing a quiet space to appear on the back of the enormous eagle. Feng Zunja and the two others were all focused on Xiao Yan's swelling body. In less than 10 breaths' time, Xiao Yan had actually transformed into a large fat person. The flesh all over his body appeared just like a balloon with air being blown in it as it bulged out. While Xiao Yan's body was swelling in this manner, a painful expression had also covered his face. However, he had clenched his teeth and endured it. Feng Zunja's eyes stared intently at Xiao Yan's swollen body. His fingers had already slowly curled involuntarily under his sleeves. Wave after wave of spiraling wind, that emitted some sharpness, appeared. Feng Zunja and the two others were a little stunned when they saw the enormous bone wings on Xiao Yan's back, especially when they heard the sound made from its flapping. The shock on their faces became even denser. This is Heaven Demon Phoenix wings? Mu Qingluan's eyes stared at the pair of bone wings on Xiao Yan's back. A moment later, she finally inhaled a breath of cold air as she uttered those words, yes, you should be right. Back then, I also saw some of the old demons from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe using them. Although this pair of wings belonging to Xiao Yan does not have any phoenix feathers, the scent on it is similar to that of the Heaven Demon Phoenix wings. Feng Zunja slowly nodded. Even with his mental strength, his face involuntarily revealed some shock upon seeing that Xiao Yan possessed a pair of Heaven Demon Phoenix wings. This fellow, don't tell me he killed a member of the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe? Otherwise, how is it possible for him to possess the ancient Phoenix essence blood and this pair of Heaven Demon Phoenix wings? If the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe becomes aware of this, it is likely that they will dispatch experts to kill Xiao Yan. Mu Qingluan gradually withdrew the shock on her face as she muttered. Only now did she feel that this disciple of her teacher's old friend, who had suddenly appeared, was very mysterious. Feng Zunja slightly nodded his head. He also found things to be a little troublesome. This little fellow was indeed quite bold. Even Yao Chen and him would have thought twice before touching someone from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. It was unexpected that this little fellow had not only removed the essence blood but had even created these bone wings. Xiao Yan's tightly shut eyes twitched while the two of them were speaking. Soon after, Xiao Yan slowly opened them and saw Feng Zunge's group who were looking at him. He bitterly laughed. "I'm sorry. I did not expect things to end up like this. Are you all right?" Feng Zunge shook his head and asked. Xiao Yan stood up and clenched his fist. A torrent-like overwhelming strength immediately surged through his limbs and bones. This kind of comfortable feeling caused Xiao Yan to involuntarily let out a howl to the sky. The howl rumbled. There was a vague dragon roar and phoenix cry within it that shook one's heart. Phoenix cry? Dragon roar? Feng Zunge's heart immediately trembled when he heard this howl. His eyes were somewhat strange as he looked to Xiao Yan. He said, "Phoenix cry and dragon roar. These are top sonic waves in the world. If used together with a sonic wave do technique, their strength will be extremely great. Unexpectedly, you possess both together." Xiao Yan was similarly startled. That little dragon's roar had originated from the yin-yang mysterious dragon pill back then. As for this phoenix cry, could it be because of that ancient phoenix essence blood? You should hide these heaven demon phoenix wings first. Try your best to avoid using them in the future. Otherwise, should the heaven demon phoenix tribe discover them, you will likely be faced with great trouble, Feng Zunge reminded. Mu Qingluan by the side raised her ears when she heard Feng Zunge's words. She was also very curious about Xiao Yan's background. Although Feng Zunge had many friends, she didn't know of a friend whom he would be so concerned about after all these years. Xiao Yan tightly clenched his fist. A fierce glint vaguely appeared in his eyes. A moment later he suppressed the fluctuating emotion within his heart. He inhaled a deep breath of air as he slowly said, "Old Feng should also be aware of the matter about teacher back then, right? He was not with me when something happened to him. By the time I discovered something amiss, Han Feng had already announced to the public that the old fellow had suffered a backlash when he was refining a pill and ended up self-destructing. I will naturally never believe such words, and I interrogated Han Feng quite a number of times about this. However, this fellow is extremely cunning and I failed to learn anything through my questioning. After this continued a couple of times, he also disappeared from the Central Plains region. Only at that time did I vaguely sense the disappearance of that old fellow was related to him. However, I am unable to find any information about Han Feng after searching the Central Plains for so many years." Feng Zunge's eyes stared intently at Xiao Yan as he spoke with a deep voice. Xiao Yan sighed softly and whispered, "Teacher was indeed harmed by Han Feng back then." Boom. Feng Zunge's expression almost instantly turned dark, chilly when Xiao Yan's words sounded. A dense killing intent surged out of his body, causing the temperature of this place to significantly drop. This bastard, Yao Chen, had raised him after he was abandoned as a baby and had taught him all that he knew, yet he dared to betray his teacher? Has his conscience really been eaten by a dog? Back then, the old me should have killed this bastard with a slap. A fury surged onto Feng Zunge's face as he cried out. Mu Qingluan cowered her neck when she saw Feng Zunge this furious. Feng Zunge was usually light and carefree. Seldom would he lose himself in such a manner. Yao Chen? Could he be that life-and-death good friend of teacher, the pavilion chief of the Falling Star Pavilion that has never shown himself? Yao Chen, Yao Zunge. Mu Qingluan muttered this name in her mouth before she immediately seemed to have recalled something. Her pretty eyes were stunned as she looked at Xiao Yan and involuntarily cried out, "Pavilion chief." Xiao Yan was startled when he heard this. He was unaware that Yao Lao had been pavilion chief. The Falling Star Pavilion was founded by Yao Chen and me back then. However, he doesn't like these matters and the place was more or less managed by me. Although he has been missing during these years, the position of pavilion chief still remains because I know that with the old fellow's ability, he would not die so easily. Feng Zunge waved his hand as he explained. Xiao Yan slightly nodded. It was unexpected that teacher would be the pavilion chief of the Falling Star Pavilion in name. In that case, was he not considered a member of the Falling Star Pavilion? Let's not talk about this for now. Once I return, I will issue a wanted order. I think that the bastard Han Feng is still alive. If he lands in my hands, I will definitely let him suffer a fate where he cannot even beg to die. Feng Zunja spoke in a dark manner. It seemed that Han Feng had completely infuriated him. If it's a wanted order, there is probably no need. Xiao Yan shook his head. He flicked his finger and a jade bottle appeared from his storage ring. His finger rubbed over the mouth of the bottle as an illusionary spiritual body was hurriedly released. Xiao Yan, just what will it take for you to let me off? Han Feng's soul roared in a flustered and exasperated manner after escaping the bottle. However, his roar had yet to finish when it came to a sudden halt. A frightened expression that was difficult to hide appeared on his face. Han Feng. Feng Zunja's eyes were dense as he looked at Han Feng's soul in front of him. Two words that contained a chilly killing intent were slowly emitted between his teeth. Feng Zunja? Han Feng's eyes were dull as he looked at Feng Zunja in front of him. An instant later he immediately let out a shocked scream and hurriedly turned to flee. Feng Zunja's eyes were ice cold. His fingers were curled into claws as he sucked at Han Feng. A frightening suction forcefully pulled Han Feng back. After which, it grabbed Han Feng's neck like an eagle claw would grab a small animal. That usually benign-looking, old face had become unusually frightening at this moment. Bastard, you dared attack your teacher? If not for Yao Chen, you would have been swallowed by a wild stray. Beast, you aren't even worthy of being a pig or a dog. Han Feng finally became afraid as he looked at Feng Zunja's eyes, which contained a dense killing intent that caused one to freeze over. He was also a little afraid of Feng Zunja in his heart. Immediately, he hurriedly cried out, "Don't kill me. This has nothing to do with me. I was also forced by those people from the Hall of Souls." Hall of Souls? Feng Zunja's expression changed when he heard this name. Old Feng, the Hall of Souls seemed to be after teacher's spiritual strength. Now, teacher has already fallen into their hands. Xiao Yan spoke in a low and deep voice. It is really related to those bastards. Feng Zunja grit his teeth as he yelled. During his investigations over these years, he had also vaguely discovered something about the Hall of Souls. However, he had not expected the ones who had struck at Yao Chen back to be these fellows, who lingered around without disappearing. This bastard cannot be allowed to live. A killing intent flashed across his eyes as he stared at Han Feng icily. Even if it was the Hall of Souls who wanted to strike Yao Chen, it would be extremely difficult for them to do so. After all, Yao Chen had a great number of friends. Quite a number of experts from the older generation back then had quite a good relationship with him. With his identity as an alchemist, his ability to summon help with just a wave of his hand was something that would cause even the Hall of Souls would have to think twice despite their strength. However, Yao Chen had eventually disappeared in an abrupt manner. Clearly, this was because a traitor had betrayed him, resulting in him lacking the time to gather helpers. Who else could this traitor be other than this bastard Han Feng? Old Feng, wait. We still need Han Feng to guide us in order for us to find the branch hall where Yao Lao is being imprisoned. It is not the right time to kill him. Xiao Yan hurriedly spoke when he saw this situation. It is likely that the Hall of Souls does not only want the old fellow's soul. Perhaps, they attach a greater value on his ability to refine pills. Back then, I became vaguely aware that the Hall of Souls seemed to be quietly acting on a grand plan. This plan required quite a number of outstanding alchemists. During that big fight at the ancient mansion, which had turned the entire Central Plains into an uproar, Yao Chen and I had exchanged blows with the Hall of Souls. It is likely that he had caught their eye at that time. Feng Zunja nodded, mused for a moment, and suddenly made a guess. Ancient mansion? Xiao Yan was stunned when he heard this. It is already an extremely old story. That mansion was passed down from the ancient times. Back then, it attracted over half of the experts of the Central Plains who were at the Do Zone class and above. However, the treasures inside were indeed shocking. The Qi method you practice now was obtained by Yao Chen from that place back then. Feng Zunja sighed. Xiao Yan was once again startled. He involuntarily inhaled a gentle breath. Flame mantra was actually something that was obtained from that ancient mansion. Where is that old fellow being imprisoned right now? Feng Zunja glanced icily at Han Feng before demanding, the western regions of the Central Plains underworld city. There is a branch hall of the Hall of Souls there. Yao Chen is being imprisoned there. Han Feng hesitated for a moment before speaking, underworld city ha. It is unexpected that there is a branch hall of the Hall of Souls there. Feng Zunja frowned and asked once again. How many honorable elders, Do Zun, are there in that branch? 1. Han Feng's eyes quietly flickered as he softly replied, do you really think that this venerable self, Do Zun, does not have any understanding of the Hall of Souls? Feng Zunja laughed coldly when he heard this. A branch of the Hall of Souls would at least have a chief and a deputy regardless of how low level it is. They are at the honorable elder level. Moreover, that place is one where someone as important as Yao Chen is imprisoned. One honorable elder. Looks like your evil thoughts have yet to be extinguished. Han Feng's body trembled slightly when he heard Feng Zunja's words. The expression of Xiao Yan by the side had also slowly turned dark and solemn. Damn it. He had nearly been tricked by this bastard. 2 honorable elders, this was not a matter of summing 2 up. A lineup consisting of 2 Do Zun class experts would have the ability to even wash some top-tier factions in the Central Plains in blood. If he had not found Feng Zunja and ended up foolishly leading people to Underworld City, it was likely that he would have fallen into their hands. Store him away. He might be useful in the future. Feng Zunja's eyes were dense as he glanced at Han Feng, who was involuntarily trembling. However, he simply laughed and tossed Han Feng to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan nodded his head with a cold smile after receiving Han Feng's soul. He stuffed him back into the jade bottle. With a random flick of his finger, a wisp of invisible flame rushed in, and a sharp miserable cry once again sounded. Xiao Yan's finger rubbed the mouth of the bottle and isolated the miserable cry. After which, he returned it to his storage ring. He would wait and see if this fellow could survive being burned by the fallen heart flame. When dealing with such scum, he would not allow them to peacefully die. Old Feng, what should we do now? Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment and asked, we cannot be reckless when dealing with this matter, and we cannot allow any information to be leaked. Otherwise, once the Hall of Souls transfers Yao Chen, it will be even more difficult for us to find him. You should wait quietly for some time. I will dispatch someone to head to Underworld City to investigate. If we delay for too long, Xiao Yang spoke in a somewhat worried manner, relax, there are not many people who possess pill refining skills that can be compared with Yao Chen in the Central Plains. The Hall of Souls will not easily hurt him. Feng Zunja spoke in a calm manner. Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment after hearing this, but he could only nod his head. The Hall of Souls was too powerful. They really could not afford to alert them. I will return to the Falling Star Pavilion next. After which, I will begin investigating the Hall of Souls. What about you? Feng Zunja's eyes looked at Xiao Yang as he asked. Xiao Yang mused for a moment before saying, I wish to head to the middle regions of the Central Plains region. There is still a year or so left until the Pill Tower's Pill Gathering. I wish to participate. The Pill Gathering, huh? Feng Zunja was startled when he heard this. He immediately smiled and said, this is also not bad. Back then, that old fellow Yao Chen managed to get a champion spot in that Pill Gathering. He was really glorious. Being his disciple, you must naturally not diminish his reputation. Moreover, according to what I know, the top 10 in this Pill Gathering appear to be able to obtain the right to subdue the 3,000 burning flames. Perhaps this possesses a fatal attraction to you. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.